Hey there, this is Dave from Bar Band Bamboozle. This is the YouTube channel where I talk about how I got tricked into being into bar bands and some of the pros and cons of the whole experience. I'm going to talk about doing corporate and winery gigs today, a little bit of what we would call higher end gigs. And again, there's a lot of pros and cons about that. The first time it happens, you think, oh, this is going to be the best. We're going to get paid well. We're going to be in cool venues. We're going to raise our profiles. But all of the work and all of the energy and all of the things that sometimes make being in a bar band hard get elevated even further. So again, welcome to Bar Band Bamboozle. If you are in a bar band and you are playing regularly, eventually you'll play in, some decent bars or, pubs or taverns, places that are pretty chill. And what happens is that some of the attendees of these bars, the people who frequent them, may be business owners who have a lot of money, or they may be managers or CEOs in a big corporation or a bank or you name it. And what ends up happening, they'll enjoy themselves at the show, and before you know it, either during the set break or at the end of the night, you'll get approached. Do you have any business cards? And of course, everyone's scrambling to see, did you remember to bring a business card? If not, you got to quickly write something down or share text or cellular numbers. Anyway, these opportunities will come about, and it also will happen that someone will ask you to do a backyard party or a barbecue, but that's a whole other topic, and I deal with that in my video on should you do outdoor gigs. But this is specifically about corporate and winery type gigs, or maybe a craft brewery. So if someone's approaching you, one of the good things that suggests is that your band has some talent and that you've gotten good enough that you're jamming well, you're getting into a groove, you're tight. So let's take a look at some of the questions related to should you take corporate and winery gigs? And if you do, what are some of the pros and cons associated with those gigs? So I like to see corporate and winery gigs as kind of elevated bar band gigs because they all start in the bars. So first of all, you're obviously going to get paid a lot more money. Believe it or not, right now, 2026, we're still in a scenario where there's a lot of bars that still only want to pay people $100 per person. So $500 for a 5-piece. And then you're still begging for, some free drinks or some free food with that. And this is the most ridiculous thing. No, I'm at a point in my bar band career where I don't do a lot of those kinds of shows, and I would prefer to get a little bit more money. But if you're going to be doing a corporate gig or a winery gig, you should be starting at least $1,000 in a scenario like that. And of course, bands that become more popular in the corporate and winery scene can easily make upwards of $3,000-$5,000, maybe even more. And of course, that leads you down the path to doing special events, possibly weddings. Now, of course, one of the great things about doing a bar gig is that they're generally pretty chill. And people go to bars and they drink. And when they drink, a lot of times they see you through rose-colored glasses. So if you're making a few mistakes, if you have a few slip-ups, no problem. You're great. You sound awesome. And they're loving you and they're dancing. But if you're going to a corporate gig, sometimes, not always though, because of course corporate gigs do have a reputation for, there being bad things happening. But I would say in this day and age, if people are going to a corporate gig, they're still trying to be professional. There's that expectation. So those higher expectations, of course, are expected of you. So they want really good quality music. They want professionalism. They don't want too much downtime between songs. There's an expectation that people are going to leave this corporate event having had a great time. So those extra expectations mean more stress. Now, back on the pro side, definitely if you're playing a big hotel like, the Sheraton or, the Marriott, and you're playing the ballroom or some corporate room, that definitely helps improve your profile, and that's something that you can put on your resume. But if you're, playing at, Jack's Bar and Grill, and it's known as being a little bit of a seedy joint, that's something you're not going to mention on your resume. And same is true if you're playing at a fancy winery in the Niagara region. That's the area I'm from. It creates extra profile for you. On the downside, doing a corporate or winery gig is even more work than a bar band gig. So I did a gig, I think it was at the Hilton in Niagara Falls, Ontario. And parking is expensive. You have to go through the back, and you have to go through the freight elevators, and the amount of time and energy involved in driving in, unloading, finding some valet carts, or getting all of the equipment into the elevators and up to the corporate event room. Man, oh man, that was so much work and took so much time. Also, once you get to the gig, there's expectation that you're going to take on more work. Like, you kind of have to serve as a DJ, because when people are having dinner, they might not want you performing live at that point. So then you have to curate playlists, kind of have to MC things, because there'll be announcements, and then you have to invite people to the microphone. And then, of course, you still have to do your live music gig. So it's a lot of work, and you're wearing more hats. So you have to ask yourself if that's what you want to do. And interestingly, as much as I talk about being bamboozled into playing in bars, once you do all of these different types of gigs, you get into a situation where you start to appreciate the simplicity and the easygoing vibe associated with just playing at a nice bar. Key there is nice bar. So yes, you're playing at better venues, and then of course you typically have an easier time of asking for free food and wine. I've played at wineries where we got the same dinner as the guest had. We had steak, we had lobster, amazing desserts, we got to try the ice wine, all of those sorts of things. That's a lot of fun. That's kind of exciting. It's like going out for, dinner, except with some extra stress surrounded by that. So certainly that can be interesting, and sometimes you'll get a free bottle of wine to take home. And then a couple of more challenges. I talked about the difficulty of getting into a hotel, taking the freight elevator up. I've been at winery gigs where there weren't proper tents set up, where you're forced to play on the grass, where really you should be playing on a hard surface, on concrete or a deck. And again, this relates to my my outdoor gigs video, where I talk about, should you take on outdoor gigs like at big family parties or family reunions or barbecues. At the end of the day, a corporate or winery gig is a really unique scenario. It shows that you're doing well, that people really like your music, and that you're becoming professional. And if you're willing to take on the pros and cons, and if you feel like the pros are balancing those downsides, then by all means give it a shot. And it might be something that you do regularly. You might be really organized, have a great group of people, and it becomes a lot of fun for you. So this is all part of the bar band scene, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear your comments about what your experiences have been with corporate gigs. Please like, please subscribe, and it's great to have you as a viewer.